was marching from the plains of Kildare. A farmer I was until the last year, till I took an ocean via promotion, went over to England to harvest this year. Oh, hi there, folks. And this instrument I have here is a mandolin. You didn't think you could do that on a mandolin, did you? Well, you can. And I'm going to show you maybe one way of doing that. Hence the title of this simple tab-free lesson, starting out on the mandolin. First thing we're going to make sure is that the instrument is in tune. I'm going to assume you know how to tune it with an electronic tuner or with an app on your phone. And the notes you want from floor to ceiling are E, A, D, and G. We're tuned in octaves of a fifth, like a fiddle. This instrument is identical to fiddle tuning, in actual fact. And although it has 8 strings on it, you're thinking to yourself, well, I only named 4 notes. That's because the strings are in pairs, as I think you'll have noticed by now if you've got a mandolin in front of you, which I'm going to assume you have. And you'll also see that there are frets on the neck of your mandolin, little tiny wires or wooden bars. And we're going to place our fingers not on those wires, or you get this horrible noise. We want to place our fingers just behind each one of those little strips of wire or metal. And get a nice clear tone like that. And what we're going to learn today, I'm going to teach you 3 scales and 3 chords. And then you're on your own. You can make thousands of songs after that. We may do another lesson on tremolo and perhaps a little bit of cross-picking. But apart from that, it's up to you where you go. Now, there are 2 styles of mandolin. There's one like this, which is an A style. And then there are the mandolins with the F holes, the 2 holes on the top. They're your bluegrass mandolins. And the only difference is the bluegrass mandolin has a slightly chunkier sound, especially on the chop, you see. And the chop is important when you're playing rhythm. The A-style mandolin is usually used in classical music, in folk music, and American music as well. But American musicians tend to use the bluegrass mandolin. But really, it doesn't matter, as long as you have the scales and the fretboard down. Now for this lesson, I just want you to use downstrokes only with your plectrum. And you must use a plectrum or a pick to play the mandolin. You can't use your fingernails or your fingers because you'll destroy them, essentially. Now, as to the type of pick, any decent pick will use. You don't want it too thick and you don't want it too thin. A nice Dunlop pick is what I'm using here. And you can see there's a good grip on it where I hold the pick. And you want to leave just the point sticking out between your thumb and your first finger, or your thumb and middle finger, whichever is more comfortable for you. So, let's place our pick on the pair of strings nearest the ceiling, which is the G note. This is what we call an open string. Now, if we put the first finger of the left hand on what we call the 2nd fret, so we've passed the first space on the neck, we've come to the bit of wire, we've come past that to the 2nd fret, that's an A note. If we then jump across 2 more frets, we have a B note. Jump across 1 fret. YouTube. Right, well, we'll ignore that. That's one of my other musician friends on YouTube. He's just posted a video. And we have a C note. Now, you can get to the D note one of 2 ways. You can jump across 2 more frets. But what I'm going to suggest you do is you jump across to the next pair of strings. which is your D note. And you want to get used to doing that as quickly as possible, because you will be jumping from pair to pair quite a bit. Second fret again, that's E, jump across 2 frets to the 4th fret, F sharp, jump across again, 1 fret to the 5th, that's a G, then we'll jump across again, sorry I've got something in my right eye, jump across to the A note, to the open A string, 2nd fret, it's a B string, B note, sorry, 4th fret, no, not this time, see? You thought there was a pattern emerging there, didn't you? And there isn't. We're jumping across to the 3rd fret, that's a C note, because we're in the key of G, across 2 frets to the 5th, for a D note, open E string, 2nd fret for the A sharp, F sharp, and then finally to the 3rd fret for the G. And that is a complete scale of G. Now what you want to do, as you progress with this scale, you noticed I was just using 1 finger there. I don't know if you can see my hands. But what you want to do is get these other fingers involved as quickly as you can, so that when you really get this scale down, you can reach all the way over with that little finger to fret the D note. Not everybody likes to do that. Some people use the small finger, some people don't. The finger you won't be using is the thumb. The thumb rests on the back of the neck, or on the side of the neck, whichever's comfortable for you. You don't want it too far round the back of the neck, just close enough. In fact, mine more or less rests on the side of the neck, and it sort of points upward, almost so that the tip of my left thumb is almost touching that G string. Now, to make a G chord is much simpler. All we're going to do is take our 1st and 2nd finger, and the 1st finger is going to go on the 2nd fret of the A string, and the 2nd finger is going to go on the 3rd fret of the G string, and then we're just going to strum across. That's a G chord. And notice what I'm doing there. I'm doing a bass strum, which means I'm hitting the open G string, then strumming across the rest of the strings. Makes it sound nice and rhythmic. Now, my mandolin's not quite in tune. You'll notice that your mandolin will probably be the same. They do pop out of tune a lot. And we'll talk about ways to remedy that at the end of this video very quickly. So, a C scale now. Might as well get the tricky one out of the way. So the C scale actually starts way up on the 5th fret. I think it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5th fret of the G string. I had to count there. So we begin way up there on the G string, and then rather than fret the D note, we're just going to jump to that open D string for our D note, 2nd fret for the E note. Now, instead of going across for the F sharp, what we're going to do instead is we'll jump to the 3rd fret, because this is a C scale and this is a diatonic scale, so there's no sharp notes. So this 3rd fret is an F natural. So recap. Feel free to pause this video at any time, by the way. Now, rather than sliding that 1st finger over, keep it on the F note as an anchor, and use your 2nd finger to fret the G note. But make sure to get it nice and clear, right in the middle of those 2 frets. So that's up on the 5th fret. So your first finger is on the 3rd fret. It's not a big jump for that second finger. It can easily do it. For the G, open A, B note with your first finger. And again, use that second finger. Keep your first finger down and just plonk the second finger down next to it. That's a C scale. Now we can continue all the way up. If we wish, right up there to that high C. And this little trick is called tremolo, but we're not going to worry about that in this lesson. We'll do that in the second lesson. If you're just starting out, you don't really want to be too worried about tremolo at this point. We will use it though in the second lesson, as I say, because it's a very useful little wrinkle to have. Very handy thing to know, and you can get this beautiful sound, which is what the mandolin is probably most famous for. The trick for good tremolo is to do the opposite of what I'm doing. You can see when I'm doing it, my wrist is very tense and I can't help that. It's just the way my hands are. You want your wrists super loose. See, if I take my little finger off the top, you'll notice my tremolo becomes very static. But if I anchor my hand in place with a little finger, that's how I get away with it. And all that is just moving the pick up and down. But we're going to focus more on that, as I say, in lesson 2. If you've already picked it up and you've figured out how I do it, well done. You're the clever one. Now, C scale, as I said. Keep hitting that wrong note. That's why it's very important to practice these scales. Because if you hit a wrong note, it sends the whole thing out. And that C scale, of course, over 2 octaves, just like the G scale. Now our final, C chord. Nearly forgot the C chord. Again, nice easy chord this. First finger on the 2nd fret of your D string. 2nd finger on the 3rd fret of your A string. And then you just strum across. So we've got G, C. And our final chord and scale, the D scale. And D begins on an open string. We miss the G string out completely. And we start on our D string. So it's open D, 2nd fret, 3rd fret. Again, we're going to use that 2nd finger. 4th fret, sorry, not 3rd fret. So open D, 2nd fret, 4th fret with the 2nd finger, 5th fret with the ring finger. Now, you could reach all the way up with the small finger. My hand's a bit big, it's a little bit uncomfortable, so I'm just going to do the open string. And that's the open A. 2nd fret is the B note. 4th fret is the C sharp note, because we had an F sharp in there. This is a chromatic scale. And we'll use our ring finger to fret the top D. And you can do a 2nd octave. Top D, open E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, D, using that ring finger, sliding that all the way across. And our D chord is 2nd fret of the G string and the 2nd fret of the E string. And it sounds like this. Now, how much should you spend on a mandolin? Well, you can pick these up very cheaply, but there will be drawbacks. If you spend £60 on a mandolin, you will get £60 quality, which means the action's probably going to be too high, it's not going to be set up, and it's going to keep going out of tune. This is a handmade instrument, actually, which is why it's very plain. There's not much varnish to it. But we have this beautifully carved head. I did have to replace the machine heads. They fell apart. So I took it down to my local music shop and they put some new machine heads on here. And I'm using Elixir medium gauge strings. I should really use light strings, but I found when I used light strings, I was breaking them. And you can see the action on here is a tad high, especially when I try and fret this D chord. It doesn't quite work. But if you spend anything upwards of £100, £150, you can easily buy yourself a great mandolin. Make sure to test it in the shop if you can. Put it this way, if they're selling it, if you go down to a music shop and they won't let you test the instrument before you buy it, don't bother buying it, just walk out, because they clearly don't have any faith in what they're selling. If you buy it online, buy from somewhere reputable. Don't bother going on eBay, as I did when I bought my first instrument, which looked beautiful, but was actually a complete beast. The action was too high, it kept going out of tune, and it wasn't worth the time of day or the wood it was used to build it. So, with our 3 scales and 3 chords, there's loads of songs and loads of tunes you can play. Go on Google or go on YouTube, look up some songs, and have fun. You know, you can play anything you like with just simple chord playing. As I was going over the far-famed carrying mountains, spied old Captain Farrell and his money he was counting. I first produced my pistol, I then produced my rapier. Said stand and deliver, for you are about to sailor. Musher ingle do runda. Whack fall the daddy-o, whack fall the daddy-o, there's a whiskey in the jar. But what if you're playing with other people? What if they already have a singer and they have a guitar player who's already playing the rhythm, playing the chords? Use your scale. The song's in the key of G. Figure out where the singer is singing. Wait until he says, take a solo, and then and so on. If you make a mistake, don't worry about it. The band aren't going to stop for you. Just carry on. But practice these scales again and again and again. Your G scale, your C scale, your D scale, practice them over and over again. Practice your chords. Again and again and again, and have fun. In lesson 2, I'll teach you how to tremolo, how to play a bit faster using upstrokes, but remember, playing fast doesn't always mean you're good. You can be the fastest player in the world and still sound awful. And above all, keep your instrument in tune. The biggest challenge of any mandolin player. Well, I've been Jack Scrimshaw. I hope you've been able to gain something from this lesson. And we'll see you down the road for lesson 2 sometime in the future. I'm not going to say when, but it will be very, very soon, I'm sure. In the meantime, stay safe, have fun, keep picking, and above all, keep grinning. Take care.